All right, so you're thinking about taking the plunge. A luxury apartment in Gurgaon, I should say. Big decision, and honestly, just trying to make sense of all the info out there, it could be a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
So think of this deep dive as your sort of personalized guide. We've gone through this article. It lays out a bunch of crucial things you need to know. We're going to pull out all the really important stuff. That way, when you're making this decision, you're doing it with, confidence and a clear head.
Yeah, the goal here is to give you like a rock solid understanding of what the luxury real estate scene is like in Gurugram and all the things you got to consider when you're buying a high-end apartment
All
there.
right. It's a big investment. You want to be sure, right?
Absolutely. Informed
Okay,
decisions.
so let's dig into this Gurugram real estate world, this article. It really stresses just how fast everything's growing there.
Yeah.
Makes sense, proximity to Delhi, all the businesses popping up left and right. But one thing it really hits on early, timing and location. You can't just, jump in anywhere.
And it's not just about that fast growth, right? It's about what's fueling it. Tech, finance, those sectors are playing a huge role in the demand. So if you get why certain areas are hot,
Right.
that gives you a peek into like how much they might appreciate later on.
And speaking of hot areas, the article gets into the whole demand and supply thing for luxury apartments.
Right.
And this is where it gets kind of tricky. Because, well, yeah, there's a lot of demand overall. There are these pockets where there might be too many luxury units. So just because it says luxury doesn't mean it's a slam dunk investment.
No.
They really advise you to zoom in on the specific neighborhood you're looking at.
It's like, what's behind that demand in that exact spot? Is it people who want to live there, or is it mostly investors? Because if you can see who's driving the demand,
Right.
that tells you something about how stable it's going to be long term.
Exactly. And then there's the whole price trend situation. This article makes it super clear. The cost of those fancy apartments varies like crazy all over Gurugram, Golf Course Road, DLF Phase 5, Sector 53. Those are named as the pricier ones. So your budget,
Right.
that's going to kind of steer you towards certain areas for sure.
And the reason those areas are pricier, usually a mix of things. The infrastructure is more developed, maybe they've had upscale stuff for longer, and probably the reputation of the developers who built there.
Makes sense. Okay, so for anyone listening who's thinking about this as an investment,
Right.
which, let's be real, even if it's your main home, you still care about what it'll be worth later.
Oh, yeah.
The article says some areas might give you quicker returns. Others, it's more a long game.
Yeah.
But the point it keeps making is you can't generalize. You got to really research those development plans and the overall vibe in the area you're interested in.
It's about how mature the location is. Newer spots, more room to grow, but also riskier. Established areas, steadier, but the gains might be slower.
All right, so we've got a good sense of the market now, but let's move from the area to the apartment itself.
Yeah.
Because, the article rightly says, look beyond just the fancy stuff. What about the practical things that actually make it luxury living?
It's interesting, right? Because the whole definition of luxury, it's changing. It's not just fancy finishes anymore. It's convenience, security, how it fits into your life.
Okay, so first up, amenities. The usual suspects, right? Pools, gyms, spas. They even mention golf courses. But the thing is, will you use them?
Right.
Will you be sweating it out in that state-of-the-art gym? Or would you rather have, like, a quiet space in your apartment to work? Think about that.
You're paying extra for these things, so are you going to use them? Do they really add to your life? That's the question.
Then security. In the luxury world, that's non-negotiable. And this article, it's all over that. CCTV everywhere. People at the entrances 24/7 watching things.
Yeah.
It's not just a nice to have. It's got to be there for peace of mind.
I think about it. Good security, it makes you feel safe right now, but it also makes the property more desirable down the line if you ever sell.
Right, it's part of the whole package. And then connectivity.
Yeah.
Being close to business areas, shopping, good hospitals, schools.
Right.
The article makes a big deal about that. And it makes sense.
It does.
It's not just about being convenient. It actually affects how much the place is worth in the long run and your overall quality of life in Gurugram.
And, that connects right back to location, location, location.
It does.
Because you could have a killer apartment, but if it's out in the middle of nowhere, tough to get to.
Right.
Like, it kind of loses its appeal.
Yeah. And finally, the apartment itself. The article says, don't forget the basics. Size, layout.
Right.
Does it actually work for your family? Bedrooms big enough? Enough storage?
Yeah.
These things might seem boring, but they matter for actually living there comfortably.
It's where the dream meets reality, right?
Yeah.
You can have the most stunning design, But if the layout doesn't work for your life, it's just not going to feel luxurious.
Okay, so you found the place, location's great, everything checks out.
Okay.
Now, the less fun but super important stuff.
Right.
Legalities, paperwork.
Uh-huh.
The article cannot stress this enough. Due diligence. Do it before you sign anything,
Oh, yeah.
because this is where the details really, really matter.
Absolutely. This is where you protect yourself and make sure things go smoothly later on.
First thing, the title of the property. Got to make sure the ownership is legit, no hidden claims or anything. And the article specifically says, read that title document.
Right.
It might be a snooze fest, but it's crucial.
That document, it's the foundation of your ownership. If there are any liens, mortgages, or legal battles tied to the property, that's a headache you don't want.
Okay, next up, RERA registration.
Yeah.
Real Estate Regulation and Development Act. Protects buyers.
Right.
And the article's like, any real project, it'll be registered under REOA. So look for that number. It means there's oversight. To be super clear, this act sets up ways to handle disputes. And make sure
Yes.
developers actually do what they're supposed to.
RERA is all about accountability and transparency in real estate. You check that registration, you're confirming the project's legit, and that the developer's playing by the rules.
Another big one, the Occupancy Certificate, or OC.
Yeah.
This basically says the apartment meets all the rules, it's safe to live in. If there's no OC, that could mean big problems.
Think about it this way. Would you really want to live somewhere that hasn't been officially okayed by the people in charge? That OC, that's the stamp of approval, safe and ready to move in.
And last but not least, the sale agreement.
Right.
Carefully,
Absolutely.
look at all the terms, the price, when they say you'll get the keys, payment stuff.
Right.
The article's like, get a lawyer to look it over. It's a good idea.
That agreement, that's the contract between you and the seller. It spells out everything, your rights too. You got to know what you're signing.
Okay, market, the property itself, legalities, check. Now let's talk money. This article breaks down all the costs. It was more than just the price tag.
Right. Time for the reality check. It's about the total investment.
So first, obviously, the property price.
Uh-huh.
The article says it could be anywhere from 1.5 rupee crore going up to 5 rupees or even more.
Yeah.
That's a big range, right? Shows you how much variety there is in Gurgaon's luxury scene.
It really does. Size, location, the bells and whistles, it all factors in.
Then there's stamp duty and registration. 7 to 8% of the property value? That's not chump change.
No, that's a chunk of money. Got to have that ready up front.
And don't forget, maintenance charges.
Yeah.
They say it could be 10,000 to 50,000 rupees per month. That adds up fast.
It does. This covers all the shared stuff, the upkeep, the fancy amenities, the security. Important, but yeah, got a budget for it.
Legal fees, got to factor that in. The article estimates somewhere between 25,000 and 50,000.
Right, you're paying for expertise and peace of mind.
If you're thinking about doing up the interiors,
Right.
there's interior design and furnishing. That could be anything from 10 rupees to 50 rupees or more.
Yeah, this is where you can really go wild.
Totally. But that's also where you can blow your budget if you're not careful.
Yeah, set those limits early.
Last thing, if you're getting a home loan, there are those processing fees.
Uh-huh.
Article says about 10,000 to 25,000 usually.
Yeah, basically a fee for getting your loan approved. Part of the whole borrowing costs.
So we've covered a lot: market, property, legal, and now the money stuff. I think if there's one takeaway from all of this,
Right.
buying a luxury apartment in Gurgaon, you got to plan. Like, really plan and do your research. The article we talked about, it just hammers that home.
Yeah, spend the time, get to know the market, figure out what matters most to you, those amenities, the legal stuff, and get a real handle on the finances.
Exactly. So before we wrap up, something to think about. We've talked about a lot. The best time to buy, which amenities you'll actually use, making sure everything's legal, and of course the costs. Out of all that, what's the most important thing to you as you start looking for your luxury apartment in Gurgaon? It's a good question to ask yourself.
Yeah, no easy answers.
Yeah. All right, that's all the time we have for this deep dive.
Until next time.
See ya.